All right, I have walked 6 blocks, I think it was, from Commerce onto, if you remember, I told you all it was a straight walk up Commerce Street from the 1300 block where the Carousel Club was, where the Colony Club was, right across the street from the Adolphus. If you go left out of the Carousel, you go about 2-3 blocks down to Dealey Plaza. If you go right, you go about 6 blocks to this location, site of the Dallas Morning News. And of course, the Warren Commission would have us believe that Jack Ruby was in the Dallas Morning News office at the time of the shooting buying an ad. According to Jack Vanderslice, he was not at the Dallas Morning News at the time of the shooting because the two of them were watching the shooting at the Terminal Annex building, still on Commerce. He never left Commerce. He literally just walked up and down this street. They're standing at the corner of Commerce where the Terminal Annex building is, looks out over the infield across the grassy knoll, watched the, quote, fireworks, as Jack Ruby described them, and then afterwards he came down here, walked all the way to the Dallas Morning News and bought his ad. Of course, newspaper that had the ad in the full page ad on the day of the assassination. This is what John F. Kennedy woke up to in the morning when they brought him his newspaper. This is a full page ad, and the ad pretty vociferously attacked Kennedy's foreign and domestic policies. It had a series of questions starting with the word why, preceded by the statement Mr. Kennedy in all caps. And I'll just read you what it said in the ad. It says, despite contentions on the part of your administration, the State Department, the Mayor of Dallas, the Dallas City Council, and members of your party, we free-thinking and America-thinking citizens of Dallas still have, through a constitution largely ignored by you, the right to address our grievances, to question you, to disagree with you, to criticize you. In asserting this constitutional right, we wish to ask you publicly the following questions. Indeed, questions of paramount importance and an interest to all free peoples everywhere, which we trust you will answer in public without sophistry. If you've seen the ad, and it's pretty easy to find, the ad is surrounded by a real thick black border. And it looks very similar to what like a death notice. Yeah, it's a very somber, kind of a sinister looking ad. And the ad, it turns out, was placed by Bernard Weissman. Now, I mentioned Bernard Weissman when we were standing outside the Carousel in the Colony Club. I told you I'd tell you later who it was. Bernard Weissman, remember, was, according to Rose Jeremy, present at the meeting at the Carousel Club, but that, according to Rose Jeremy, Jack Ruby was hosting the meeting at the Carousel. J.D. Tippett was there, Bernard Weissman was there, and a prominent oil guy was there. This all happened 8 days before the assassination, and she overheard them planning the killing of JFK, which she later, after she was found thrown out of a car, she told a police officer that, she told doctors that, they all thought she was crazy, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. She witnessed all this at this meeting. Well, Bernard Weissman was one of the people at that meeting. Bernard Weissman was chairman of the American Fact-Finding Committee, an ultra-right, kind of a far-right extreme organization. The committee described themselves as a, quote, unaffiliated and nonpartisan group of citizens who wish truth. They were also affiliated with the other ultra-right extremist organization called the John Birch Society. The cost of the ad was about $1,465 and was provided, the money was provided by Joseph P. Grinnan, who was a member of the John Birch Society. So technically the John Birch Society paid for the ad. Bernard Weissman placed the ad. And so this is this is what Kennedy is running into when he comes to Dallas. One of the reasons why he told his wife we're heading into nut country. So let's talk about the Dallas Morning News. In the 40s, Ted Dealey became publisher. He was the son of George Dealey, who was the namesake of Dealey Plaza. Ted Dealey became publisher and assumed control of the newspaper. Just it was handed down from his daddy. And the Dallas Morning News took a swing to the right. Under George Dealey, it was considered to be either center, sort of center-left. It wasn't extreme left, it was center-left. But under Ted Dealey, it became far-right. The news reflected the ideology of Ted Dealey, who was a rabid anti-communist. He spoke out often against welfare, against federal aid. He hated the United Nations. The news under Ted Dealey provided right-wing organizations such as the John Birch Society with prominent and sympathetic medium to express their viewpoints, often on editorial pages. The newspaper called the American Civil Liberties Union the Swivel Liberties Union, not a very derogatory reference. The Supreme Court was the judicial Kremlin and a, quote, threat to state sovereignty second only to communism itself. This is the Dallas Morning News under Ted Dealey. According to the news, the New Deal was the, quote, queer deal, and members of Franklin Roosevelt's brain trust were subversives, perverts, and miscellaneous security risks. Also, the editorial page on the Dallas Morning News had oftentimes said of the New Deal, it was a, quote, series of improvisations strung pretty much upon a single string. The single string is that the underdog is bound to be the best dog. All the rest is spur-of-the-moment strategy, shot-in-the-arm therapy, rabbit out of the hat showmanship. You got to give them credit for their editorializing. It's very creative. The Dallas Morning News said taxes are the poorest form of molasses to attract industrial flies, and, quote, as effective at keeping out enterprise as would an electrified fence. So far, if you've been paying attention, the Dallas Morning News under Ted Dealey is anti-tax, anti-government, anti-UN, anti-civil rights, anti-communist. It's anti just about everything. This is a story I told in an earlier video when I was talking about George Dealey, but I'll reference it again. Ted Dealey in 1961 got an invite to the White House where he insulted President Kennedy in front of other Texas reporters, calling Kennedy and his administration, quote, weak sisters, and claiming that the president was riding Caroline's tricycle. I read you that quote in the earlier video. Right, said it right to his face. Just hours before his death, Kennedy, after reading the Dallas Morning News that morning, told her, quote, we're heading into nut country, after seeing the contents of Dealey's newspaper. In a Fort Worth, Texas hotel room that morning, the president's mood turned noticeably sour as he read the Dallas Morning News, which featured that full-page welcome Mr. Kennedy ad, and it sort of ruined his day. And he knew, he already knew what he was heading into here in Dallas, but the Dallas Morning News kind of put their final stamp on it. And according to the Warren Commission, Ruby was here at the Dallas Morning News purchasing an ad during the shooting a few blocks away at Dealey Plaza. But of course, I think I named him Jack Vanderslice. His name is actually Bob Vanderslice. Testified in 1977 that Ruby was with him and actually invited him to meet him in that location so they could watch the fireworks together. And they stood on Dealey, right across, looking across the infield grass on Dealey Plaza as the shooting happened. And then Ruby from there walked to this location. Again, I'll show it to you. Behind me here, the Dallas Morning News. And it's all connected by this main vein, Commerce Street. Ruby, pretty much that was his life. He operated the Carousel, competing with the Colony, trying to get Adolphus customers, all on Commerce. When he went to Dealey to watch the assassination, he didn't even go into the plaza, so he just stood on the periphery and watched across the infield from Commerce, the corner there. And then when he went to the Dallas Morning News, he just walked straight up Commerce, and boom, here he is. So, you could call this Jack Ruby Thoroughfare. Thank you.